We're going to take you through a short journey in the next 50 minutes. So sit back and relax in these beautifully comfortable chairs. And this is going to start with a background on Dawn Foods and how this 100-year-old manufacturing company became a global leader in the bakery industry. And we're going to look at some of the strategic insights and the business case that led into the thinking of digital transformation at Dawn. Then Sam is going to take us through, together with our partner Sukhbir here, on the specifics of this journey, what the journey looks like, and how the end product will look like, what the technical architecture is. And towards the end, we're going to provide you with a demo. If everything goes well as planned, it's going to be basically a showcase for the possible, what we can do with this system. And at the very end, last 10 minutes, we're going to take your questions. And our Chief Digital Officer, Bob Holland, is here with us today. So we're going to invite kindly Bob to join us with the questions. So I don't know if you ever heard of Dawn Foods. It's one of the best kept secrets of the business world. It's a family-owned, privately owned company that's been in business since 1920, so almost 100 years. Headquartered out of Jackson, Michigan. It's a bakery ingredients and bakery products manufacturing company. And what started as a small donut shop in 1920 in Jackson evolved into this $2 billion global company with more than 4,000 people working for it, operating in more than 100 countries, with serving 40,000 customers every day. And we have more than 650 people who are touching these customers on a daily basis. And Dawn operates in all regions of the world, but we are much bigger in North America, where we have a unique business model, which we're going to talk about, because in North America, we're not only a manufacturer, but we are also a wholesale distributor of bakery goods and bakery supplies into the baking industry, which is vertically integrated to our manufacturing business. And what we do is we not only manufacture our products, but we distribute these products to the end user with our own logistics systems, together with a bunch of other products that are sourced from third-party suppliers. We have about 30 distribution centers across North America, and these distribution centers serve about 20,000 customers every day across North America. What do we sell? I mean, we really sell anything that a baker needs, but we can group these things into 5 categories roughly. We sell non-bakery foods like your nuts, raisins, cream cheese. We sell processed bakery ingredients like a donut mix, a cake mix, a brownie mix, jams, icings. We sell raw ingredients like sugar, flour, shortening, oil. We sell semi-finished and finished products like a decorated cake in a box. If you shopped at Walmart, bakery products, they are made by Dawn, most of them. So we also sell non-food products and services, like we sell baking equipment. We sell pots, pans, gloves, forks, knives, napkins, you name it. Anything that a baker might need. We have more than 5,000 products in our portfolio. So we operate in 2 different business models across North America. One business model is the key account business model, where we take Dawn manufactured products like a cake mix or an icing, and we sell it directly to a large key account like Walmart, 7-Eleven, McDonald's, Panera, you name it. And in this model, because the customers are quite large, they order in very big quantities. Like when Walmart orders icing for their cakes, they order like 5 truckloads of icing. So in this model, we ship the products directly from our plants into the warehouses of these large customers, which is a simple business model. Yet we have a second business model where we basically serve the small and mid-sized accounts. These are like your neighborhood bakeries or small donut shops around the corner in your neighborhood. And these customers, we sell them the Dawn products, but also the third-party sourced products, and we consolidate all of these things in our distribution centers and deliver them every day. And their orders are by nature smaller and more complex. There's a bag of this in it, there's a pail of that in it, and we need to consolidate and make very frequent small shipments every day across North America. So these are the 2 business models by and large. And While both business models are very relevant and important for Dawn, we do have a much bigger heritage, a well-invested network, and also a competitive, sustainable competitive edge on the small to mid-size account segment. So, I mean, this is the bulk of our customer base, and just like any other company, this is more profitable for us because these small customers don't have the negotiation power of a Walmart or a McDonald's. So this is why it's strategically imperative for us that we protect and grow this segment of the market. But how do we do that? So as we think about how to grow this segment of the market, we had two separate considerations, or we looked at our business through two different lenses. One lens we used was the product innovation lens. Just like any other company, we need to constantly innovate our product portfolio so we become relevant and we differentiate ourselves. And we do that. I mean, we just introduce gluten-free concept, natural colors, natural flavors, different formats, and all that. The problem is we have 5,000 products in the portfolio. So it's very difficult to differentiate yourself based on product because every single product is not significant enough to make a difference. It's a small fraction of total sales. That's why we just looked at our business and we said, well, while we have to innovate still, we have to bring new bakery products to the market. That's just table stakes. And we have to think about a bigger mechanism, a higher mechanism above product level to differentiate ourselves, almost like a business model innovation. An innovation where the customer experience, Dawn customer experience, will be better if we deliver a more enjoyable and simplified Dawn experience for our customers. So we thought we need to differentiate at that level. The other lens we looked at our business with was the undeniable factor that there's a huge digital transformation that's taking around us in the food service and bakery industries, which we are part of. We see online ordering coming into the play more and more every day with food service distributors. Amazon, they made a public statement with their B2B business model. They said, we're going to go after food service and bakery industries. And our direct manufacturing competitors are doing a lot of digital things to differentiate themselves. So we just looked at that and we said, we don't want to be left behind. We actually have the opportunity to be ahead of the curve and preempt our peers if we act fast in this digital area, because the digital transformation in bakery and food service industries are still at their infancy. So putting these two things together, the need to differentiate and the need to stay ahead of the curve, we said we're going to invest in digital technologies and we're going to embark on a digital transformation journey in partnership with KPMG with the primary goal to give a better customer experience to Dawn customers, hence differentiate ourselves. So of course it all starts with understanding our customer, who the customer is and what they want. And our customers are, as I said, your neighborhood bakeries, the donut shops, and there's usually a small, venue in which there is one decision maker, the baker, and this baker is, by definition, is an artist. He or she is, having a lot of fun and pride and, enjoying the art of baking. They focus on the passion of baking and they focus on the quality and the taste of the food. But while it's a small establishment, it's a very complex operation at bakery. So there are a lot of other elements of their business that they need a lot of help, and they rely on their suppliers to provide those helps. So that was one thing we measured. And at Dawn, we constantly look at what bakers need and what are some of their biggest pain points, what are their biggest concerns, hopes, and fears. And here's our latest research. We understand that the bakers, they know technology is going to be an important thing in their lives. It's going to play an important role, but they don't know how, and they don't know how to make it happen, so they need help. In terms of product, bakers want to make sure that when they put a product portfolio and assortment in front of their shoppers, they want to make sure that it is something that is driven from the latest trends, latest taste profiles, color profiles, and the consumers will enjoy it. And they also want to access the highest quality bakery ingredients at the lowest price possible to make that happen. And they need support with recipes, etc. Labor is probably their biggest pain point because they struggle to find, recruit, train, retrain, and retain skilled labor. There's huge shortage. Financial. as I said, bakers are artists. They don't necessarily immediately know where they make money, where they don't, or how to prioritize their investments. So they appreciate a lot of consulting in the area of financial. Again, direct marketing, targeting a certain consumer group with the right products and understanding their needs and trends is not necessarily a inherent skill set that exists within bakeries. And then last but not the least, regulatory and compliance, which is all about food law, the labeling requirements, which is constantly changing. Bakers just want to make sure they're, first of all, compliant, but they also have access to audit tools, certifications, which is required to run their businesses. So, I mean, while these are very specific needs that we have identified, the overarching theme is, yes, they expect products from us. They expect, icings and cake mixes and everything, but they want a more holistic help from us to help with their business and with the elements of the business that are not necessarily related to baking. So combining this, ambition to go digital and the understanding of the customers, we just came up with this vision that says we're going to create a digital bakery platform, which we're going to see the demo of. And through that bakery platform, we just want to make sure we provide products online to our customers, but we also want to surround them with services on a digital environment that they're going to be needing to run their businesses more effectively, hence differentiate ourselves. So as a working charter, this digital bakery platform that we're going to show you today is, and with that, we want to be an indispensable partner with the bakers, and we want to create a sustainable advantage through the use of technology and data that otherwise they wouldn't have access to. And by doing that, we want to help them, and we want to help them achieve their goals and aspirations. So that's what we've been working on. So what does this platform look like? Conceptually, imagine this is a website or an app. It may take different shapes, but this is for explanation purposes. At the center of it, there's going to be a B2B product online ordering facility where they can basically place their orders and get their products online. While online ordering is nothing new, it's been around for 20 years by now, there's very little of that in bakery industry. So it's still very progressive simply because bakers are not, digital native people, and the operation is very complex, product portfolio is very fragmented, and pricing is very customized per baker, per product. So there's an inherent complexity which we are working on. Once we get that rolling, the second thing, so these are areas for bakers to go into conceptually. We want to work on, we are actually working on a B2C online ordering facility for our bakers. The bakers want to engage digitally with their consumers, with their shoppers. They want to make sure that they have an online ordering facility through their stores, but they don't know how to get it done. So we're working on a turnkey solution to provide to the bakers so that they can turn their own operation into a digital online friendly operation. And they're going to appreciate that. We said labor is a big issue for our bakers. We are going to be connecting to customized job search engines in partnership with Indeed, Monsters, or someone like ZipRecruiter, so that the bakers are seeing who is available and who they can recruit. And we also will connect them to training videos through YouTube, and we're going to connect them to certification programs through educational institutions. In terms of marketing and innovation, at Dawn, we have tremendous knowledge of consumer desires, wants, needs, trends, everything, and their behavioral statistics and all that. So we want to make sure that we provide these things to our bakers in a digestible format that makes sense to them and helps them get the right product assortment. And also, we want to partner with tools like Twilio, where we're going to be helping the bakers to run digital campaigns, sales campaigns, which is going to increase their sales, and that's what they want. We talked about regulatory compliance. There are a lot of companies out there that help the companies do these things. For example, TrackMyRisks.com is one of those digital companies who are specialized in auditing, audit tools, certification. We want to work with them on a baker-specific solution and plug them to our platform. Same with financial, lots of financial companies who can help us with training, measuring tools, investment prioritization tools that we can plug onto the platform. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is, in the side of operations, think about a neighborhood baker receiving a large donut order, like 500 donuts for a college party in the middle of the night. Well, what they need to do is, of course, make it and box it and everything, but to deliver it, they usually have a van, which is sometimes out, so they need to wait for that van to come back, and the order is delayed and all that. Instead, we want to connect them to a last mile delivery service like Postmates, curbside, so they don't need that van anymore, maybe. They can just deliver their product through those services. By doing those things, they're going to be able to look at their business and their assets very differently. And we can go on and be as creative as we want with these things. But the central idea here is to provide our customers with the online ordering facility and the high quality products, but also surround them with these digital services over the platform that will help them with their broader business. And that's how we are planning to differentiate ourselves from those competitors who are just selling traditional products today. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Sam.
Great. Thanks, Serhat. I've heard this story so many times, and it's just incredible that here's a 100-year-old company, will be 100 years next year, right?
Yes.
That's gone through so many transformations. This is the fourth or fifth transformation, if I remember one of the storylines that you talk about. The first one actually being, when we had the Great Depression, right? And the company reinvented itself and is going through so many transformations. So this is a company that has actually worked through quite a bit of change and is now ready for the next frontier. So what I want to sort of take you through is, Serhat talked about how entrenched the entire value proposition is with regards to talking to the customers, and frankly to the customers, which are consumers like you and I, and really building out how do you actually relate to them, how do you engage with them, how do you create that stickiness. But I want to unpack that conceptual view, the value proposition view, and the conceptual view, which is the previous slide that Serhat showed, and build on it and talk about what does the logical model look like when you unpack that. And when you unpack that, what does the physical model look like, which is the technical elements needed to make this a reality. It's great to talk about business agility, but since it's so entrenched in sort of linking business and technology together, linking business, technology, and digital capabilities together, it's kind of incredible that you had to bring all of this together to actually deliver a value proposition. So I want to sort of uncover that, and when we get to the end of the presentation, Sukhbir will come up here and do a quick demo of where we see this going. But before I get into it, I want to talk about this journey a little bit, because the journey that we started together about 8-9 months ago didn't sort of happen, the snap of the fingers. There was a lot of interaction. There was a lot of working with Serhat's Don leadership team, the board, Bob's teams. Bob's obviously part of the leadership team, but really getting everybody to understand what is the value here. Why should you make this pivot, and why is it important? It didn't happen in the snap of fingers, as Serhat will definitely tell you. So I want to sort of walk through how do we actually go through the process, and what kind of an approach did we use to help people think through it, right? I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it is what we think of as our transformation framework. This is business-led digital transformation. I want to be very clear, and the journey is what we really believe in, because this is not going to happen in 1 year, 2 years. It actually takes a little bit of time, and more importantly, needs to be sustainable. You can't just expect that this will happen in 2 years and then you're done. It's not an initiative. It's a pivot for the whole firm and the whole company. We call it the connected enterprise. And really, the connected enterprise has several key elements to it. And I'm going to go through all of it. I'm just going to spend about 3 or 4 minutes going through the top line capabilities, if you may. The first, Serhat spent a lot of time talking about it, which is the fact that the customer agenda is actually ready for disruption. Everything that we talk about is customer-centric, is outside in. The surveys that Serhat talked about, the interactions with the customers and in this case, the artisanal bakers, the Walmarts of the world, and their consumers, was very important to inform what the strategy needs to look like, right? So once we had that in place, really started to take a look at what kind of experiences do we need to create in order to enable that today and down the road. So this notion of creating experiences and customer experiences that are going to really effectively enable the strategy that was created was an extremely important part of it. And oh, by the way, we were not looking at just products and services that Don provided. We opened up the aperture to say, what does a customer really want from us? And we created this notion that we said was more important for you to understand what experiences the customer wants, not what experiences you could provide. Still an outside-in perspective. And then translating that in terms of organizational capabilities to deliver number one and number two, right? How do you deliver profitable growth? How do you deliver this from an organizational capability? Because nobody else is going to do it. You have to do it. And you have to transform your organization to do that. When you looked at all of this and you pivot into what capabilities are necessary, how do you break down these silos that we're normally used to, whether it's supply chain only does this, or your customer service team only does this, right? How do you break down these barriers between front, middle, and back office? And how do you create an environment that allows transformation to happen more naturally? That was really what we were jointly working on together. And so there are 8 capabilities that we believe, and this is all based on research, by the way, that we've done over the last 3 years, not just from talking to customers, but working with external parties who have actually thought through what these capabilities need to be. And they've done surveys for us, we've done research, we've really entrenched that research in terms of outcomes and constantly refined it. I'm not going to go through these 8 capabilities, I'm just going to point out a couple, 3 of them, right? The first one is kind of obvious. I think a lot of us are here because we believe that insights-driven strategies and actions are core to the way a business would behave in a digital world, right? And what's interesting is that one of the surveys KPMG does on an annual basis with CEOs across the globe, we found that while everybody sort of believes that this is their strategy, 78% of CEOs actually don't use data-driven insights to inform their decisions. They still go with their gut. Now, I'm not suggesting that gut is not important for a CEO in particular, but this is something that we are learning and we're trying to inform everybody. But this, we believe, is core to one of the capabilities required for our transformation. Serhat is not one of those CEOs, by the way. But the second one, of course, Serhat talked about, which is the innovation on products and services. Not only innovation of existing products that you sell to your customers, but also digital twins that you want to sell or enhance your existing products with. Experience centricity, that's something that is talked about a lot, where your customers really are the center of your universe and you want to deliver an experience, not just a product for them, right? And this is not just for the customer, but also your employees, so that they're serving customers more effectively. And that's extremely important as well. Seamless commerce and seamless interactions. This is about omni-channel capabilities, so that if you start a transaction or if you start an inquiry or you start a conversation on one channel, which could be digital, that you don't lose track of it. You don't lose track of it when somebody walks in the store or walks up to your sales agent or whoever it might be. The piece that is a challenge as you start to unfold all these capabilities is the responsive operations and supply chain. Supply chain is sort of making a move, and we believe this is an important move, from being make-centric and cost-centric to be customer-centric and commercially oriented, right? Sort of moving upstream so that you're not just thinking of yourself as, I got to deliver the best product, create the best product at the cheapest price. And so we can go on and on through this. Suffice it to say that we believe, obviously, the alignment of people, talent, whether it's growing talent internally, changing the way people think, or externally hiring talent is very important. And finally, a digitally enabled architecture, which we will talk about in a little bit more detail. So I'm not going to delve into details there. Serhat already talked about the importance of the partner ecosystem and the fact that you want to welcome partners. What's very refreshing about this is none of this is sort of behind some firewall sitting. And Serhat and Bob go out and talk to their customers, talk to their partners. They're very open about what they want to do, which is sort of what Serhat calls the open source world of businesses, right? You want to sort of share as much as you can so that you're inviting people into your ecosystem and you're creating possibilities that you never knew possible, right? And so that's something that we want, or creating opportunities that you never knew possible. So one of the things I'll end with is that as we started to unpack this more and more, we found that as we talked about it and began to monitor companies that were using this, companies that use this kind of a framework, not exactly the framework, but really invested in those capabilities, were twice as likely to succeed in their transformation efforts. And this is something that whether you believe in exactly all those capabilities or you want to modify some of this, this is directionally where we believe companies will need to go in order to survive and thrive in the digital age. And this is where, when Serhat opened, we really are trying to link those two together and saying there is no business strategy and digital strategy. It's one and the same thing, and you have to understand how they work together and how you would sustain them together. So with that said, and as a backdrop for how we actually went through this journey, I want to sort of transition a little bit into where we left off with our story. And Serhat talking about what does Dawn look like as a platform company? Conceptually, these are the products, services, areas, categories that we believe is important, Dawn believes is very important for the future-proofing the business. At the heart of this, of course, is all the data that you're going to collect. This is a fairly seasonal business. Bakers have to react. There's a lot of bakery business all throughout the year, but when they get into Thanksgiving or now coming up with Easter, there's a big spike. When are they actually looking for labor? What kind of labor are they looking for? How often do they look for that labor? What can they pay for? What kind of, you are collecting that data. Even if you anonymize it, it's very powerful data. And so each one of these bubbles or clouds that you look at creates and puts out so much data that we believe that is actually how we're going to keep this a sustainable competitive edge for Dawn and for their bakers. So let's sort of unpack and go from a conceptual view into a more of a logical view and then into a technology view. So if you look at this a little differently, in order for us to be able to create what we think of as a plug-and-play architecture, there are two fundamental elements that are necessary, even before you get down to collecting the data, right? To be able to create these business services that Serhat talked about, whether it's connecting up with Indeed or a gig economy provider of resources or whoever you have, there's two things that we wanted to sort of ensure that we do. The first one was working together with the Dawn team said, it needs to be a microservices-based architecture. Whether you're building your own, you're plugging something in, you essentially need the ability to plug into a chassis. And that microservices architecture has to enable that, right? The second piece is that using APIs that are readily available is an excellent way to accelerate, and frankly, not only accelerate, but also run test and learn cycles. And we're doing some of that and exploring that as we go along. When we go into the details, we'll talk about some of that. But all of this, whatever the areas are that Bob talked about in the Serhat talked about in the previous slide with operations, marketing, technology, knowledge, etc. What we believe is that you would need these to plug in to a technology backbone that you would, what we're calling the core business platform for Dawn, or Dawn core business platform. So what does that look like? Today, that is built on a Google GCP backbone. That is, think of that as the chassis. That chassis is where everything is going to plug into. And the chassis obviously has core capabilities, which we'll talk about in a second. But it also has business solutions. We don't think of YouTube as a business solution. We just think of it as a cool place to watch videos, possibly. But Dawn has already started the process of creating a Dawn channel, right? Somebody knows what does it look like when you're creating a very specific product or an end product for your customer, and what do you need to in order to be able to create that? Because this is an art for them. This is their passion. They want to learn about new techniques for frosting or to create a new kind of a cake or what's coming up in the food services industry that is relevant to them. So when we look at this, we are actually looking at plugging in things that are fairly native to what Google already does. And we're calling those Google Business Solutions, right? It's still part of Google Cloud, but it's a business solution that is provided. It could be AdWords, it could be Express shopping lists, it could be recommendations AI that we're going to use, right? But there are things that you have to always create by yourself. One of them is the commerce engine. We do believe that in order to achieve the goals that Serhat, you talked about, you are going to need to transact fundamentally. Well, that's not native in the Google Cloud yet, at least. But we will be using a commerce engine that we will plug and play from elsewhere. We will be creating our own customer service transformation interaction models. We will be creating things that are specific to what Dawn needs, curated by Dawn, created by Dawn. But they will all ultimately plug into the same chassis. And we believe that's extremely important for us. When you sort of unpack this a little bit more, what we're seeing is that we're going to use, this is not a technical deep dive presentation, but I'm going to do the best I can to sort of cover the top elements, right? you are going to have a serverless computing architecture. You are going to have an elastic cloud. You are going to have all those things that are normal, expected, container engines, whatever you want to call it, right? You are going to do all of that. And that's sort of the top line item. You are going to use BigQueries. You're going to do all of that. But there are elements that you need in order to deliver this business agility, which will only come from really thinking about your ability to not only subscribe to APIs, but also publish APIs, right? So as much as you're subscribing to an API, and we'll talk about that in a second, we're also going to publish APIs that other people might use. Maybe it's the organizer of this event that need, I don't know how many donuts we had in the morning. Maybe we didn't have any donuts. But maybe they need 2,000 donuts a day, right? They could subscribe to this and find a way to engage with artisanal bakers to deliver those 2,000 donuts a day in the morning, right? So when we look at the enabling technologies and what it takes to be able to really unpack this, there are two elements to it. The first is the ability to sort of have a conversational interface. And that's what we're using Dialogflow for. So I'm going to literally just not talk about the top row there because I think we already have enough sessions that cover those. We're going to talk about the business elements of this. The first one is Dialogflow, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but Dialogflow is essentially the interaction engine for conversational commerce. Extremely powerful. If you don't know about it, I would recommend you learn more about it because it really brings across the notion that whether you're interacting with a customer using Google Home or whether you're using your mobile phone or whether you're using some other element that you don't know about today, it will be extremely powerful. The second that we found very valuable is the ability to store session data because your performance of your conversation is important and the speech to text and the text to speech kind of elements are important. You will need to have a caching capability and we are using Firebase for that. Cloud communications, we use Twilio to be able to start using the ability to alert people quickly, get them informed. And if you don't know Twilio, I would recommend you get to know them. Now you're going to get into, I'm going to talk about the commerce engine next, which is commerce tools. It's a ground up microservices architecture based commerce engine, right? We found that to be extremely powerful, easy to plug and play, easy to get off the ground, and really curate your overall interactive experience. And Commerce Tools is one of, we believe, one of the two vendors out there that's doing a great amount of work around how do you actually plug into more of a cloud-based native microservices architecture. Now, this interesting part that I left out in the middle is actually one of the elements where we believe we're going to generate a lot of business interest. This is what we think of as one aspect of our fulfillment engine. Now, one of the things that came out, and we're obviously learning from the market, and there's a huge test and learn cycle that works pretty quickly, is that last mile delivery for fulfillment is important. The example that you use, Serhat, I got to deliver, 500 cupcakes. Now, I need the ingredients tomorrow. How are you going to get it to me? You can either use Don's logistics network to be able to deliver it, which is not meant for last mile delivery, or you can engage by plugging and playing a Postmates or somebody else to be able to do it, right? And what we're saying is eventually we expect that these partnerships, whether it's a Postmate or whether it's somebody else, curbside, what have you, you're going to start using these to be able to actually deliver products on the last mile. And we're going to see that when we get to the demo, right? We've actually plugged that in. What we also found is that it's not a one-size-fits-all. You could use Postmates in New York. You could use curbside in Miami. You could use your own network in Chicago. You could do whatever you want. Ultimately, you have the ability to plug in business APIs, business services, and rapidly get it off the ground. In terms of course, when you're looking at these business APIs, it's kind of complicated because there are a lot of operational factors. But what used to be the longest pole in the tent, which is connect up the whole infrastructure from Postmates, connect up this, make sure it works, we got it done in a week. At least the first shot at it, we got it done in a week. And that was actually a big revelation for us because it is about the speed of business. This is about the clock speed of business. And if technology doesn't support that, we've got a big problem. And this is really what it's meant to do, is to accelerate that process. For those of you sort of interested in the architecture diagram, we didn't disappoint. So we do have one of the more complex ones that I've seen. It's actually a very simple one compared to where we are going to be. But this is setting up the demo a little bit, just to give you a flavor for, I'm not going to steal Sukhbir's thunder here, but really what I want to communicate here is the fact that we have separated out the modalities of interaction from the APIs. The APIs is actually where, in some sense, the magic happens, and you can look at it as those of you who are technologists and say plugging in the API is extremely important, the resiliency of the API, the performance of the service itself, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we're seeing that a lot of the magic is beginning to happen and will happen, continue to happen on the front end because of the devices that are proliferating businesses. We foresee a situation where there could be a Google device sitting at every artisanal baker, and they're going to actually use the device to interact with Don, not sort of get on a phone or do something else. We believe that that is extremely important for the future of this platform that is being created. And Sukhbir will go through why we believe that's the case from an experience perspective, speaking about the connected enterprise story and how important experiences are a part of it. For the purposes of our conversation today, one of the things I want to point out is the entire API gateway. Well, I shouldn't say the entire piece. Let me clarify. The API gateway is based on Apigee. Now, not every API is available through Apigee, so sometimes you have to go directly to the provider, to the service provider, and get the API and connect to them. Commerce Tools is an example of that. It's not available, at least when we started off, it wasn't available as a part of Apigee. But Postmates is, and we accelerated our process because we used Apigee to connect the backend. So we are obviously, this is it's a drill down of the actual architecture that we have. There's a bigger architecture that brings in a lot of the machine learning capabilities, the data capabilities that are extremely important for the growth of this. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sukhbir to actually go through the demo, and then we'll have about 7 to 8 minutes for a Q&A at the end of this. Yes.
Thanks, Sam. So before we begin, is there a clicker there? Thank you. It's really important to understand first the actual experience that we're looking to enhance for a lot of these bakers. So throughout this journey, what we've done is we've actually gone and visited a lot of these bakeries across the country, and we spent the day with them to understand what their current experience really is. And what we found is a lot of them, they handle every aspect of their business. It's not only honing their craft and their art, but it's also really effectively running their business. So they're in the back, they're actually the ones in the kitchens creating the goods. They are then, moving over, washing up and going over to their laptops and, calling up vendors to see tracking orders, bill payments, and then also handling customer service. They're also, looking up new recipes, looking on social media. They're trying to find out, how do I get inspired to build what I love doing? So with that in mind, we've tried to create a demo to see how do we handle and enhance this experience for them so they're not kind of running around everywhere, and it really creates almost a seamless interaction with them. So with that in mind, if we could transition to the demo screen. So there are many mediums you could use to essentially interact with this platform here, which we are calling Baker Assist. For this situation, we've used the Google Assistant mobile app. And so just to engage with it, one would just have to start off by saying, talk to Baker Assist.
All right, here's the test version of Baker Assist.
Hi, I'm Baker Assist. Have a question about ingredients or baking techniques? I'm here to answer. You may also choose to subscribe to Baker Alerts to receive upcoming instructional videos by asking, "Alert me on new tips."
That sounds pretty cool, so I think I'm going to ask to be alerted. Alert me on new tips.
Okay, I'll start alerting you. I noticed that the NYC Autumn Food Festival is trending on social media and will take place near your location within the next several days. Some type of pumpkin dessert might be great for this event.
So you see here they're pairing location, they're able to do the research and kind of provide all that information right to you at your fingertips. I mean, this sounds really neat and it's right near me. pumpkin desserts during autumn is always great. So I'm thinking of a pumpkin dessert. Maybe I want to learn how to make pumpkin donuts. Show me a video on how to make pumpkin donuts.
Here's the instructional video for making pumpkin donut.
Perfect, so I can access this.
Hey guys, it's Koi Sweet World, and today we're making these pumpkin donuts that are perfect
So you see,
for fall.
it's called
So
YouTube
let's get started.
and figured out a
First, we need
repository of
1
videos that we
3/4
have
cup of
to be
flour.
inspired in terms of how to make new goods. And now I want to know a little bit more detail regarding these pumpkin donuts I've just learned to make. Show me the ingredients for the pumpkin donut recipe.
Here are the ingredients for pumpkin donut.
And so I take a look at these ingredients and I see one of the ingredients here is whole wheat flour. Now, as Serhat mentioned, a lot of these bakers, they're really entrenched in their communities. And I know my community and I know that they're very health conscious. So maybe I want gluten-free flour instead. Are there gluten-free substitutes for wheat flour?
Sure, here are a list of wheat flour substitutes that are gluten-free: almond flour, buckwheat flour, amaranth flour, teff flour, brown rice flour.
Brown rice flour seems pretty cool, so add 5 kg of brown rice flour to my cart.
Great, 5 kilograms of brown rice flour is successfully added to cart.
Add the pumpkin donut recipe to my cart.
Great, the pumpkin donuts products are added to cart.
So instead of adding each individual item, I can add the entire block of items. View my cart.
Here are your cart details.
Looks pretty good. Place order.
Great, your order has been placed successfully. Your order will arrive in 3 to 4 business days. However, it looks like the NYC Autumn Food Festival is only 2 days away. Would you like to opt for fast delivery?
Well, it's a good thing they told me that, so of course I want fast delivery. Yes.
You have opted for expedited delivery.
Great, so now as the baker, I can go in, take a look at where my order is, and I'm based out of New York, and I can see that my order is waiting to be accepted right now and will be delivered fairly soon, and I can track it. I can go away and handle the rest of my business, and whenever I feel like checking up my order, and I can do that, as well as I'll be alerted on the status of my order as the day goes on.